Locked and loaded.
Welcome to
Lock
and Loaded. We have a special guest today and a really important topic that we want to talk about for the ABA industry, which is advocacy.
Right. So with ABA providers, we really aren't sure in terms of our role in terms of advocacy. Should we be advocating for the family, or should we be teaching the families to advocate for themselves?
Well, because there's advocates out there that do a really great job, so ABA providers should not be in that role. Right? So we're going to bring an advocate in to help ABA providers and companies know how to work collaboratively with advocates and IEPs. Why? There's times where ABA can come in and disrupt the flow of what the advocate is planning to do.
And sometimes there is also a conflict of interest, right? So if the ABA agency is funded with the school district, but also has in-home services for the family, where do we see ourselves in those respects?
And that's where we want to talk about, because there are a lot of things that manifest that a lot of people may not know. And one of them is that I know our insurances and maybe even our other regional centers do not want our ABA providers to accompany families and IEPs because they don't want to mess the educational with the in-home component, unless you're contracted with the district possibly, right?
So yeah, we want to make sure we stay in our lane. We want to make sure that there is no stepping on others' toes, boundaries.
And Dr. Lee just told you guys to stay in your lane. Stay in your lane. But that's what we're going to get in Lock and Loaded. We're going to try to talk about what's right, not to say that we are experts. We're just trying to learn and talk about and have a conversation. And that's why we brought an amazing person first off, and also an amazing advocate. We're going to ask her why she became an advocate, what is her passion, and also help us with navigating through ABA and advocates. Because ABA should stay in their lane, and we should be able to help parents. So Dr. Lee and I, as we bring in this amazing advocate, we call her super advocate, we're going to also talk about strategies that we have experienced that have been extremely successful over the 20 plus years that we both each have in this industry. So without further ado, Dr. Lee, Locke,
Yeah.
would you like to introduce our amazing guest?
Sorry, Miss Zelaya. Miss Zelaya, please.
Yeah, all right, that's what's up. Slow up before you sit down, show the back. Show your shirt. Coach 24. That's what's up. So tell me before we get started, what's the shirt you're wearing?
This is the Divergent Game. Son los Juegos Divergentes para las Olimpiadas Especiales.
This is the shirt from the Divergent Games from Special Olympics.
Nice. I would love to talk about that and what district that actually put this on. But first, let's talk about you.
Oh, yo soy Celia Sarabia. I'm Celia Sarabia. It's the big honor for me to Larry invited and Dr. Lee invited me. It's a big honor.
It's an honor for us to have you. It's an honor for us to have you here, to be honest.
Thank you. And I'm here to help the parents anytime.
How long have you been an advocate?
24 years.
Wow. And what made you, why did you become an advocate?
Because I have a 3 kids. My young son and my young daughter is typical. And my older son, he's autistic. He's 27 now.
Wow.
And that's why I start to advocate for the special need kid.
27.
Yes.
Wow. And I want to say, I know your kid. He's doing some amazing things. He created some coloring books that maybe you can show us at the end of it all.
Oh my God, I'm gonna cry.
Yeah, don't cry though, not yet. Not yet.
Yeah, because I'm very proud of Mikey And I said, thank you, Larry, thank you, Dr. Lee, and the staff for B.A.T. because
And Rialto, the school districts, everybody.
Yeah. Because Mikey ha alcanzado cosas que pensé yo que no iba a poder hacer.
Mikey has accomplished things that I never thought he would accomplish.
Y sí, Larry mencionó el distrito, B.A.T. Aquí en California tenemos los mejores servicios que pueden existir.
Larry has mentioned B.A.T, he's mentioned the district, so here in California we have a lot of support and a lot of services.
Tenemos los distritos escolares, que tenemos la educación pública y gratuita hasta los 22 años, los niños que tienen necesidades especiales, y tenemos los centros regionales que no discriminan, son las dos agencias que no discriminan, ni los distritos, ni la educación, ni los centros regionales.
We have the school districts with free education up to 22 years old, and then we have the regional centers who never discriminate and are always available for us.
No importa si la familia, si los niños son nacidos aquí en Estados Unidos o no, tienen los mismos derechos que cualquier otro niño.
It doesn't matter if the kiddos were born here in the U.S. or if they were born elsewhere, they have the same rights as everyone else.
Y después vienen las agencias que nos apoyan, las agencias las de comportamiento, por ejemplo B.A.T, que es la número 1, es la mejor.
So after that, we have the agencies who are always supporting as well. Just like an example, B.A.T being number 1.
Son grandes apoyos, grandes recursos, grandes herramientas que tenemos, y solo las tenemos aquí en California.
And the agencies have a lot of support, a lot of resources, and here in California, there's a wide variety.
But what's also great is that people like you can become an advocate with the appropriate knowledge, because you're smart, super smart. Did you just graduate too? You went, okay, in the country. I saw wearing a USC shirt too, so I was like, yeah, let's go, USC.
Me voy a graduar de USC de literatura, si Dios lo permite, junio 22.
In June 22, she will be graduating from USC with literature.
Yeah, that's an honor. So it just, not just the advocacy and everything she does, but just continuously trying to grow herself in the educational realm. You know, so that's why we have Celia here, and why I really think it's important to learn from this particular amazing young lady to be able to help us navigate. So again, tell us why advocacy is important to you.
Es absolutamente importante abogar por los niños especiales, por la educación especial y por las necesidades de los niños, para que ellos puedan tener los recursos que necesitan. Mi consejo para todos los padres, es de que se aseguren de formar un gran equipo. Escuela, terapias, centro regional, somos un equipo y todos tenemos que trabajar juntos. Por eso tenemos el eslogan del rompecabezas, porque vamos uniendo las piezas para poder sacar adelante a nuestros hijos y que tengan éxito.
So it's really, really important to advocate for kiddos in the special needs community, and the best advice she can give you guys is to create a team with the district, the regional centers, the agencies, create a team that can always be there for support and resources.
And I love that, because a team means that we're working positively together. And that's one of the reasons why Celia can be really feisty if you ever seen her out there, but she's so positive. She's fighting for what's right. And when you fight for what's right, it doesn't have an energy. You know, you really just want what's right for the community. So how can ABA continuously help? Because I know you've had a lot of battles, right? With some ABA, even maybe ourselves. Dr. Lee, what's your thought before we ask?
Yeah, if I'm a parent with a child with special needs, when should I seek out an advocate? Is it when I'm having difficulty with the school districts, if I'm having difficulty with the IEP? What extra support would that advocate give me?
Okay. Primero, los padres tienen que asegurarse de que tengan una buena evaluación sus hijos.
So first of all, the parents should be sure that they have a great evaluation.
Y también siempre tener a alguien que les ayude.
They should always have someone there to help them out.
Ese fue un consejo que me dieron a mí cuando me diagnosticaron a Mike.
So that was the advice they gave me whenever Mikey was
Que tuvo su
diagnosed.
primera IEP, me dijo una maestra, estudia las leyes y para que puedas ayudar a tu hijo, porque solo con tu hijo no vas a aprender a defenderlo, porque solamente va a ser un IEP al año.
So during the first IEP, the teacher that was there advised me to learn the laws so that she can be there and support for Mikey.
Entonces empecé a estudiar y ayudarlos a las familias para que puedan tener una buena evaluación y de ahí dependen todos los servicios que el niño puede tener.
So we want to make sure we have a good evaluation. Based on the evaluation, that's going to conclude what services are going to be available for the kiddo.
Y el ABA es importantísimo. Pienso de que el ABA tiene que empezar, empieza desde el primer IEP tiene que empezar el ABA. Es la intervención temprana.
So ABA is really important, and before or within, when we're getting the first IEP, ABA should already be a part of a part of
Early
Well, this is-
intervention. The early intervention.
Yes.
It's
but-
very important.
But this is what we're trying to help the state, is that you have a really great team in the special education. You have teachers, you have program directors, you have speech pathologists, and you have OT. But you don't have a lot of ABA integrated into the school. There's one school district that I thought has done a really great job, and that's Long Beach Unified School District, where each district has a BCBA integrated at their school that will help with anything that's needed, right? But because every school district, and this is something we get into, may not have the funds, yes, to be able to fund for everybody to have intervention.
Okay. Los fondos están.
So the funds are there.
Los fondos están porque yo soy parte de un comité en donde se manejan los fondos de los distritos, así de que los fondos están. El problema es de que los papás todavía no sabemos, no identificamos que los derechos los tenemos nosotros y nosotros tenemos el poder de tener todos los recursos para nuestros hijos.
So the funds are there, and I know the funds are there because I'm part of a committee who helps organize the finance. But the thing is that the parents don't know that the resources are there, and they don't know that they have the power to request these resources and move forward.
And that's why we have her here, so that she can educate. Because we don't know as ABA, we're just wanting to be a support for our families. Super advocate, she knows. And I look at it as the more we can educate our families out there, the more support. And outside of just what the school district may have, I know that the funding sources, we have a really amazing, I want to say, insurance that really allows for us to integrate IHP. They do a really great job, right?
Yes.
So this is what we're saying. We're starting to see everyone start to work to collaboratively, but one thing that we have to do is do it positively, because that's something I'm still seeing that we're still needing to fine tune, is the positive approaches when we come into IEPs. You know, I was literally just in an IEP 2 days ago, and the parents were so flabbergasted on how positive everything went. And that's the type of IEPs, if everyone is working together, everyone trusts the process, IEPs with great advocacy, because this particular IEP that I attended had a great advocate too. Had a really great advocate as well. But this is what we're saying. Advocacy really helps parents navigate through.
Absolutamente.
Absolutely. Those IEPs don't always have to be contentious. If everybody's working together as a team, everybody knows what's expected, I think that's when we have positive results. But if we see bickering, disagreements, that's when we see issues, that's when I think the parents are gonna need that support from the advocates. So in terms of, your experience with IEPs, if our agency has an in-home program and we're going into the IEP, but we're also contracted with a school district, how do you think we should proceed in that situation?
Bueno, son dos ambientes diferentes, la casa y la escuela, pero todo es por el éxito del estudiante, del niño. Yo mi recomendación es a todos los padres, vayan a los boards de educación. Ahí es donde uno tiene que ir a exponer las situaciones de nuestros hijos y las necesidades de nuestros hijos.
So it is two very different environments, two very different vibes in home services and then the school district. So she does recommend all parents to go to the board and see what is available and what's best for the needs of our children.
Sí, pero los dos ambientes, no importa el ambiente de la casa ni el ambiente de la escuela. Al final del día es el estudiante el que va a beneficiarse, porque de los dos ambientes va a salir un buen comportamiento al final si se trabaja con un MBA.
So both are very important, and if we are able to, ¿puedes repetir? Sorry.
Okay, es muy importante. Son dos ambientes, el de la casa y el de la escuela, pero al final del día no es el ambiente el que vamos a trabajar, es el estudiante el que se va a beneficiar al final del día.
So at the end of the day, we want to do it for the benefit of the kiddo.
And I think the best way to do that is to assure that there's an advocate there navigating through. If everybody is bickering and you see that there's one side, I've been in IEPs where it's almost like the ABA provider and the parent versus the district. And when you have that type of relationship, you're never going to get a lot of things done. You have to find that working relationship. What do you think about that?
Oh, absolutamente. Siempre las relaciones son importantes, pero siempre tiene que haber siempre hay no barrera, pero sí hay un límite dentro de lo que es social o integrarse con otros grupos, y también la parte económica, porque ellos van a ir siempre, los distritos o cualquier otra agencia siempre va a ir buscando su bienestar económico, porque no es su agencia, a diferencia de B.A.T, que B.A.T ellos es su agencia y ustedes sí dan el servicio, dan el apoyo a las familias, los distritos no. Los distritos siempre, nunca he entendido eso, porque muchas veces ellos mencionan sus pólizas y yo les digo, papás, cuando les digan pólizas, que no les tomen en cuenta, porque una póliza nunca va sobre la ley va primero.
So relationships are important, but there's always going to be a limit, whether it's social or economical. There's always going to be a limit, and one thing that she's seen that they mentioned before is the policies.
And expand on the policies. So when you talk about policies, how does policies, because guess what, ABA don't know about the policies, right?
Yes.
That's where you have to rely on the advocate or the school to trust the process. But what I've seen, the biggest piece is trust. Trust, right? So how do we get parents to trust the process? Because they want the best for their kid. We want the best for their kid. The district wants the best for their kid. But it's a process.
Es un proceso y yo le recomiendo a los padres que siempre estén educándose constantemente. Las leyes van cambiando, las necesidades de nuestros hijos también van cambiando y tenemos que educarnos. Participen, hay tantas conferencias, hay tantos recursos que nos ofrecen. Así que, por favor, aprovechen todas esas herramientas que los distritos, las agencias, por ejemplo, B.A.T nos da muchos recursos acá. Yo trabajo con muchas agencias y honestamente les digo, nunca he visto una agencia que dé todos los recursos y apoyos que da B.A.T.
So it is a process, and we do have to trust the process. However, the advice she can give parents is to keep educating yourself. The laws are always changing. The needs of your child are always changing. And you should be aware of what's available and what resources are available. And an example she gave is B.A.T. There's many resources here with B.A.T. and a lot of support. And she has never met an agency that has so many resources and so much support.
Well, I think also too, it really comes down to she was been able to advocate for her own son. And maybe 10 years ago, she never thought that the advocacy that she fought for will pay off today. Because sometimes when you advocate, you don't know if it's going to pay off today or later because it's a process. But the thing that I really appreciate is your advocacy, not just for your own son, which has really helped his quality of life, but the quality of life that you have helped with many people in our community. And I think that's really admirable. And every day you're fighting for a family. Every day you're really educating yourself, staying attuned to the new laws, the new policies, how to maneuver through. I want to just say that's why we have you here to continuously share your knowledge and your passion, but also make sure that ABA, we don't get in the way somehow, that we stay in our lanes,
Right.
and that.
So before an IEP, we always let our clinicians know that we're not there to advocate. That's not our role. But we do give them strategies. Like before the IEP, meet with the family, ask them, so here's some questions you may want to ask, things like that. We always let the family know, okay, don't sign the IEP on the spot, take it home, read it over. What other strategies can we give our families before entering that IEP?
Yo, la verdad, estoy muy complacida con ustedes, con B.A.T, porque de todos los estudiantes que yo represento, que son más de 150 estudiantes que estoy representando, solamente veo supervisores de B.A.T en los IEP. Y eso es bien importante, porque el apoyo es muy importante para los padres. Los padres a veces se sienten intimidados cuando ven al terapista de lenguaje ocupacional, a todos los del distrito. A veces tienen gente ahí sentada que no tiene nada que ver con el IEP, pero ahí están sentadas y es una forma como de que para el padre se intimida cuando ve tantas personas. Y me encanta ver a los de B.A.T allí. Yo a los papás siempre les digo, primero la presentación de ellos es muy importante. También, como dijo Dr. Lee, no firmen. Por favor, si no saben, no firmen. Siempre agarren a alguien que les pueda ayudar para poderlo leer y ayudarles a razonar un poquito más lo que ustedes están pidiendo para sus hijos y lo que el distrito les está ofreciendo. La oferta del distrito es bien importante. Tomen muy en cuenta esto, padres. El IEP es un documento legal. Cuando vayan a su IEP, vayan con el mejor traje que tengan, bien planchadito. ¿Por qué? ¿Por qué les digo esto? Porque eso es como cuando van a la corte. ¿Entienden? Eso es algo tan formal que es un documento legal. Tomen eso muy en cuenta. Ahí en ese documento, ustedes están jugando la vida educativa o la vida académica de sus hijos. Entonces, es bien importante eso. Eso es uno de los primeros puntos. No firmen.
So, one of the things
You were going.
one of the things I would like to say is I'm really content and happy with B.A.T. I serve over 150 kiddos, and in all of the IEPs, I've only seen B.A.T. employees there present. And one advice I can give the parents is to make sure you're presentable. Just like when you go to court and you're presentable, you should be presentable during your IEP as well. And just like Dr. Lee had mentioned, we don't want to sign the IEP on that day. We want to take it home, and we got to remember the IEP is a legal document. So again, do not sign that day. We would take it home, review it, and I think that was most.
Okay. Y hay dos partes que les quiero mencionar. Está el IEP y el Plan 504. El Plan 504 es importante porque está basado en el plan del Departamento de Rehabilitación.
So there is the IEP and there is the 504 plan.
And let's talk about 504 plan, because People don't talk about that a lot.
Pero muchos estudiantes lo tienen y los papás no saben que el beneficio más grande es que tengan un IEP porque es un documento legal. El plan 504 no necesariamente tienen que escribirlo.
So there is the IEP and the 504 plan, and a lot of parents aren't aware about the 504 plan. So the IEP is a legal document, but the 504 plan, it's not necessarily something that has to be signed.
Porque lo toman que es una parte del acta de rehabilitación. Entonces por eso no necesariamente tienen que escribirlo. Solamente son acomodaciones, no incluye servicios.
So the
El plan 504.
the 504 plan doesn't necessarily require services. It's more of like accommodations. So it doesn't necessarily have to be written out.
And would you say, Celia, that a 504 plan is a way to assure that your kid, if you think your kid is ready, to be more integrated into general ed?
Bueno, la inclusión tiene que estar. Estamos en la era de la inclusión ahorita en todo el Departamento de Educación. Estamos en la era de la inclusión. Pero el plan 504 a veces limita. Es que por eso les digo a los padres, les recomiendo a los padres que tengan una muy buena evaluación. El que tenga un IEP no quiere decir que su hijo no puede estar incluido. Al contrario, puede beneficiarse de muchos servicios, de muchos recursos que necesita.
So inclusion should be there no matter what. We are in the era of inclusion, and the 504 plan. Sorry.
The 504
Okay,
plan kind of allows for you to adapt, like give the accommodations.
Accommodation y acomodaciones. Pero el IEP ahí encierra todo porque es un documento legal. Menciono esto porque muchos de mis estudiantes que yo represento tenían solamente el plan 504 y no les decían que no podían ser incluidos porque tenían el plan 504 o no pueden ser incluidos porque están con IEP. Eso no es cierto. Todos tienen el mismo derecho y nadie tiene que quedar atrás.
So a lot of the students that I helped only had a 405 plan, and they would be told that they couldn't be included because they have a plan, or they couldn't be included because they have an IEP, and that's not true. Everyone should be included.
No,
Todos los estudiantes tienen el mismo derecho.
All the students have the same rights.
but that's where, again, working collaboratively is such important. I think, like you said, as you talk about inclusion, it's also collaboration with the team, working with the teacher, with the principal, with the, all of the school BCBA, working with the director, working with the parents, working with the advocate. If you leave maybe working with the OT, the speech, if you leave anyone out, you're not collaborating. And that's the difference, I believe, that you have to have in the ABA world. It's knowing how to adapt to all the different bodies, because they all know how to adapt with one another, because they have IEPs all the time with one another. But it's just the outsider is the ABA, the outside agency.
When you're the ABA expert and you go into those meetings and then expect everyone to listen to you because I'm the ABA expert, that doesn't go well. So we want to make sure, okay, we are ABA experts, but we want to make sure that we respect others' views, what they're saying as well, not just like, no, I know what I'm talking about. You need to listen to me. It's like, when that happens, those meetings don't go well.
It doesn't. And I think that that's where we're trying to help, because I think, as Celia said it perfectly, we do need ABA more involved. But as I've experienced talking to other teachers and administrators, they don't want the conflict of always having ABA challenge them about data, challenge them about this or that. They want ABA to be able to work collaboratively and understand, I want to say, the different boundaries that in-home is versus school. What is your thoughts related to that as an advocate?
Primero tenemos que cambiar esa cultura en los distritos.
First of all, we need to change that culture in the districts.
Tenemos que enseñarle a los distritos las necesidades de nuestros hijos y que ellos están allí no es para lo que ellos digan, sino para lo que nuestros hijos necesitan.
We need to show the districts the necessities that our children have. We're not there for what they have to say. We're there for what our child needs.
But the in-home data, does that give, say the kid does really great in-home, the data shows amazingness. Do you think that that's going to translate to school? If the school is a different, all we do is generalize. Dr. Lee's like, we're generalizing. We want everything to generalize. How do you get the in-home information and show the teacher without saying we're better? And this information needs to be, I guess that's where I'm here, and I'm playing a devil's advocate for the other side.
Absolutamente, es lo que mencioné al principio, somos un equipo, vamos uniendo piezas. No importa la casa, los ambientes, lo que importa es que todos esos ambientes que puedan afectar a nuestro hijo se puedan acomodar para los servicios que nuestro hijo necesita. La colección de datos,
So like I mentioned before, we're all a team. It shouldn't matter if we're talking about in school or at home services, we're all the team and we're all there to benefit the child. So we all need to work collaboratively.
La colección de datos de la casa y de la escuela es importantísimo. Yo les recomiendo, padres, que tengan un sistema de comunicación entre ustedes y la escuela. Y eso, el ABA debe de tener eso.
The data collection from the school and the data collection from home are both really, really important. So we recommend parents to have a line of communication between what's going on at school and what is going on with the home services.
But when do you bring that line in? Do you bring it up in the IEP, or do you bring it up prior so that they can know how that's going to integrate?
Bueno, eso, la comunicación tiene que ser diaria. Y yo reviso los comportamientos del estudiante antes de ir al IEP, y también muchas veces me comunico con el ABA. A ver, o pido un draft siempre de las metas que van a poner.
The communication needs to be done daily. So before I even go into an IEP, I'm looking at the data from prior, and I want to make sure that we review everything. We review the goals and we review all the programs that are implemented daily.
El draft de la IEP es importante revisarlo antes para saber qué meta vamos a poner para el estudiante.
And also the draft for the IEP, we want to make sure we review it.
And I agree with that. I just believe it's within the delivery. So for an ABA provider, the parents have access to the data. The parents know the data because they're a part of sessions. Parents can take the data that they have and present that with their advocate. But if you're asking the ABA provider to do that, that could be a conflict of interest within itself. What do you think about that, Dr. Lee? Let's talk about it. This can be, because advocates want us, want all the information, right? They want everything, as Celia is saying. But ABAers, they don't even, our funding source doesn't want us to even go to these IEPs and participate. So if that's a conflict of interest within itself, how do we educate the parents to be able to say, hey, I will also, because the parents can say anything they want in the IEP. I would like to talk about this information I have in front of me.
I think that's what we're trying to do on the back end, prepare our parents to be that one person who speaks up and saying, this is what we're doing at home, can we incorporate some of these strategies in the school? I think, so we talked about trying to change the culture. I know some school districts really appreciate where they're supporting them. Other school districts are like, no, we don't want you here, why are you here? So, but just trying to teach that family, it's like, hey, I need to bring up this goal, I need to bring up this strategy, because this is what's working at home. How do we incorporate that into the school? Because when we see that, it may be like, okay, we don't want to hear what you do at home. It's totally different environment. It's not the same. But when we try to go into the classroom and help with that strategy, that teacher might be, no, this is my classroom. I don't want any part of that. So how do we change that culture?
Bueno, primero empoderar a los papás. papás, nosotros tenemos los derechos. Los derechos más grandes los tenemos nosotros. Nosotros somos los que decidimos qué es lo que se hace o no se hace con nuestros hijos.
So first of all, we want to give the parents the power, because the parents, as parents, we're the ones that make the decisions, and those are our rights, and we should be deciding what's best for our child.
Eso es lo primero. Lo segundo, todo lo que esté en el IEP. Si en el IEP ponemos de que la agencia M.A. va a dar el servicio, ellos tienen que participar, ser parte de la vida educativa de ese estudiante y hacer cualquier cambio que se tenga que hacer. Así es, si es que hay que voltear el escritorio porque el estudiante eso le afecta y el ABA está recomendando que le volteemos el escritorio, pues lo vamos a voltear, porque él es el especialista y es el que está dando la recomendación.
Secondly, we need to be aware of what's in the IEP, and we need to be receptive to changing anything that might benefit our IEP, whether it's something as simple as changing the desk a certain way for his benefit. We need to be receptive.
If the ABA recommends.
If the ABA recommends that to be done, then we need to be receptive to that.
But I think that that's where ABA has to be very careful that it's not an entity and that we're a team. So if we want to change the desk, we should say, teacher, what do you think? Hey, is this going to affect your classroom? Is this going to affect your dynamics? So that's one of the things. Sometimes we go in and thinking, yeah, we're advocating for this one kid, but we are not taking the consideration of how that's going to affect the other kids in the environment. And sometimes we're just about our kid, but we have to know that it's a team. Success is within the environment, right? So if the kids around you are being successful and they're happy, then your kid's gonna learn and model those behaviors. So it's a really tricky piece that ABA sometimes, because you're right, ABA have a lot of power of recommending. We have a lot. But it's how you use that power, I believe, is important. And to use it, it has to be used under, I believe, a team concept. What do you think, advocate? What do you think, teacher? What do you think, BCBA of the district? What do you think, specialist? Because if you don't ask them what they think, but ahead of time, in the IEP, they'll tell you what they think. And it's not going to be what you want it to be, right? So I just feel like there has to be some better strategies, and that's why we're talking today about how ABA can be much more integrated without all of the unnecessary recommendations and the data collection. And what I mean by that is that the advocate should create a plan, which is an educational plan for that child. This is what the child needs. He needs more general ed PE. He may need these type of recommendations. One-on-one, maybe he needs speech. But you help the parent navigate through those needs, right? And who else? The educational team assess.
Absolutamente.
They assess the needs of these kids. Now, what happens when you don't think that the assessment is accurate? And that's where the parents feel a little bit, I don't know. We're talking about it because ABA is always in the middle. And sometimes I have found, not with B.A.T, but other organizations, you find yourself in the middle trying to pick a side. Do I side with the school district? Do I side with the parents, instead of just staying in your lane and just sticking to ABA? And I think that's where, but parents know our power and they want to use it to their benefit. Which we want that, but and Dr. Lee, help us navigate of how ABAers, should navigate through this process.
At the end of the day, we have an ethical code that we have to act in the best interest of our consumer, our clients. So whether that be against the school or against what the family believes, we have to act in the best interest of the child. So it may be difficult to say, no, school district, we don't agree with you, or parents, we know you want this, but we don't agree with you. So in our ethical code, we have to just do what's best for the students.
And I agree with that, but how do you do it where it doesn't make the parent mad? Or it doesn't make the school district mad, right? That's where you have to have what Celia said, great communication, great relationships. And you have to talk and communicate. What's your thoughts on that, Celia, as well? That's a lot. I know, because...
Bueno, yo soy bien firme en lo que quiero para mi estudiante. Siempre y peleo hasta el final por lo que sé que el estudiante necesita. Si
Ahí.
no estoy de acuerdo con una evaluación, y esto también se los aconsejo a los padres.
Let him say. Go ahead.
I am very firm with what I want for my child, and if we need to make some change, then I will fight till the end, and I am very firm.
Y siempre les he dicho a todos los administradores en todos los distritos en que represento a mis estudiantes, les digo de que allí en el IEP soy la voz de mi estudiante. Afuera tenemos muy buena relación, nos vamos a tomar un cafecito, a almorzar o lo que sea. Tengo muy buena amistad con muchos, pero dentro del IEP soy la voz de mi estudiante y estoy peleando por las necesidades de él.
So I have always told everyone within the IEP, I am the voice of my student, and I will fight for what's best for him. Outside of the IEP, I can have a great relationship with them and go out for coffee or whatnot, but within the IEP, I am their voice.
And I think that that's what really great advocates, they understand that, like, we're the voice of the parents. The parents ask us to help them navigate through this platform. And ABAers, we have to know how to maneuver through all of this as well and be a team player for all parties to be. And the most important team player for the child, as Dr. Lee, eloquently said. But it can be very contentious. It can be very, not the best feeling. And we're saying, hey, we're here to create positive feelings. We're here to change behaviors in a positive way. So how do you do that? And I think it's just what Celia said, relationships. You need to talk and communicate, not at the IEP, but before the IEP. Go and say, these are my recommendations, this is why. Let's sit down and talk about it and agree on it or disagree on it outside of the IEP, so that when we get there, we'll have a really great clinical understanding of what we need to do to get the best for this child. Because that's what an IEP is to try to get what's best for the child. And what I may think is best doesn't mean what Dr. Lee thinks is best. How do we come together without friction? And that sometimes can be hard, right? And I don't think the IEPs are a place to come together. As Dr. Lee said, I think it's prior. Oh, you're going to have an IEP in 2 weeks. I've been a part where advocates and lawyers have called us and asked us questions prior to the IEP to make sure that they understand our stance or where we're trying to go and why.
And nobody likes surprises. So you want to make sure you know what the recommendations are going to be, what the services are being offered. Because if you're hearing that on the spot during that day, you don't have a lot of time to have that discussion, have that all the facts, everything like that, to make that decision. So if you have everything before the IEP, I think that's going to better prepare you in terms of your decision-making process.
Es importante dentro de las buenas relaciones, para crear una buena relación y tener un buen equipo, la comunicación y el apoyo que nos demos unos con otros. Yo apoyo mucho a mis maestros, a los terapistas, a todos les doy su lugar y el valor que tiene cada uno dentro del equipo. Y eso es bien importante. Por eso mencionaba al principio también cambiar un poquito la cultura en los distritos. El problema más grande que yo había observado es de que nunca valoraban el servicio que cada uno estaba dando. No importa que te paguen, a todos puede ser que nos paguen, pero no todos ponemos la pasión que debemos de poner en las cosas que hacemos. Entonces, pero el valor, acuérdense que los seres humanos vivimos del estímulo. Te doy algo, oh, muchas gracias, sientes algo mejor. Entonces, eso es bien importante, el agradecimiento con cada persona que trabajan para nuestros estudiantes. Tenemos que agradecerles y también valorar el trabajo que cada uno está haciendo. Yo pienso que eso ha sido algo importante dentro de todos en los distritos que yo trabajo. He sentido que eso ha sido bien importante.
So in order to have a good relationship, once again, communication is very important, and I communicate with my teachers, I communicate with the ABA agencies, and we need to learn to value the work of each one of them. And if we're constantly communicating and showing we're grateful for what they do, then we will learn to value what each one of them does.
And that's awesome, literally spot on, because what do we teach our kids? Positive energy, positiveness, positive FCT. Use your words in a positive way. Use your words positively. But then we see parents in IEPs sometimes not always being positive. And I think that's where we're saying, well, it kind of contradicts ABA because ABA is positive, right? And Dr. Lee, the funny thing is he's been in the IEP with me, and remember that? And I can be
screaming.
a lot of energy. Why? Because the passion. But at the end of the day, the child got exactly what the child deserves because of the passion. But you also can't just come with passion, you have to come with knowledge.
Absolutamente.
You have to come with knowledge and you have to come with data. You can't just come with just your opinion and your thoughts. And I think that's the differentiation sometimes too, because everyone's opinion is valued. It's important, but it's not facts. It's not data. It's not all the time what statistics have shown to be accurate. So that's why we try to take data. And like I said, 10 years ago when she was advocating for Mikey and advocating for him to get everything that he deserves, it's showing why now he's able to make. And let me just show you there for a second. Right there, our producers are going to provide us with some of the coloring books that Mikey has created. So our team here, I want to say head by Jaya. I want to give her credit for really helping take this coloring book to the next level. And we have 3 editions. We actually have 4, and the other edition is still being created. It's called the Beaver. But this one, it's too loud, right? And Mikey not just drew it, but also it's a little story integrated into it about how it's too loud, and it's pretty awesome. The kids are really loving the reading and the actual ability to color in some of these books. The other one that Mikey created on his own is how to make friends. So he did this whole coloring book about how to make friends, and how the badger's a little sad in the beginning or angry because he doesn't have any friends. He's mad. And then at the end, look how happy the badger is because he's made friends and has the really great skills. So all the things that maybe we did not see then, it's coming out now, and that's how adulthood is. Because I'm probably a testament to it that being a kid doesn't define who you are as an adult, right? I'm sad. So this is one of my favorites, The Lion. The story of the lion. It's okay to be sad. And Mikey wrote this, put all these things together. So I just think just showing his skill sets and why we advocate for our kids. Statistics are showing that our kids are blossoming and growing and doing so much more than ever before because of advocates. Not because of ABA only, or just because of it's. You have to have a person fighting for this, because I don't think everyone really knew that our kids will be amazing. We have kids that are working at coffee companies. We have kids that are graduating from college and high school.
Yes.
You know, we just had a graduation here, and it was so great to see the kids. Lupita, you know, like her journey, right? Your advocacy work. Lupita. Remember that? Right? So we're seeing kids actually growing and becoming amazing. We had another consumer in Redlands graduate. Oh my gosh, it was so amazing to see how the Redlands Unified School District and really, but it came with an amazing advocate too. You know, Michelle Torres.
Yeah.
She's an amazing advocate as well, and she allowed for that to manifest. So it's like these advocates are fighting. And when you have that, it's up to us to do our job too, right, Dr. Lee?
Exactly. So my question for you, if parents out there are looking for an advocate, what should they look for in a good advocate versus someone who isn't as successful?
Ay, ay, ay.
Ooh, that's a loaded. That's why we're locked and loaded. We just gave her a loaded question, lock and loaded.
Ay, ay, ay. Yo creo que el éxito de para que un advocate tenga éxito es ver el reflejo, lo vas a reflejar en tu estudiante, en todo lo que tu estudiante, las necesidades de tu estudiante estén cubiertas.
So in order to be a successful advocate, you need to reflect and make sure that the needs of the child are covered.
No, I think literally that is the most important piece in having a relationship with the team around the parent.
Oh, absolutamente.
You know,
Claro.
developing a relationship with the team around the parent so that the team around the parent can trust the advocate too and where the advocate is going. We're not going to embed our 20 plus 25 years into someone we just met that at an IEP. When, you know, so it's like we have to be able to build relationships. We're doctors, we're BCBAs. We have to definitely respect that and respect how we can navigate through. Why? Because we were in a situation where we had to tell a parent, or a parent told us they didn't want to work with our agency because of the fact that their advocate said that. Right? So the advocate, guess what? Told the parent to find another. I hope that other agency has enough therapists and enough team support to help this, because you're just helping one area. You're not helping the whole area. And I think that's where I get a little bit, we have to be better in our industry. And that's why we bought a super advocate in, to help parents understand how to navigate through this, because they're going to believe in something that is a team has to come together on. And the advocate has to respect that just as much as the other people in the team. So with that being said, we have parents out there. We have professionals out there. What are some questions? We have Celia. Let's ask her some questions. We got our parents out there. We got people out there watching you. You know, lock and loaded. So what would you like to ask as we're in summertime. We're going to be going back to school in a month or 2 months, and IEPs are going to happen. So what type of strategies and tools would you like to go into the next school year and successfully navigate for the best interests of your child? Any questions?
So far we have one comment. This is from parent Laura saying, hello, good afternoon. I'm the mother of George. Celia is right. The communication is really important, and I'm always aware of what is happening in the school my son goes to. I constantly communicate with the teacher and the principal.
Nice. I think communication, and my question to her, has she been successful with her outcomes because of that approach?
I haven't got any other comments. I'm not sure.
Otro punto importante que tomen en cuenta, padres, es la confianza. Tenerse confianza, en tener la comunicación y crear un ambiente de confianza. Muchas veces, recuérdense, ellos tienen que guardar su trabajo, porque de eso depende a veces su vida, su casa, su economía. Entonces, tenemos que crear un ambiente de confianza. La mayor parte de las cosas importantes me las comentan a mí. A mí nadie me puede decir nada, entonces yo lo digo, pero no digo, como decimos en mi país, digo el milagro, pero no el santo que me lo hace. Entonces, ese es un ambiente de confianza que tenemos que crear entre el maestro, los terapistas, los directores, hasta con los superintendentes. Es un ambiente de confianza, de que si ellos vienen y te comentan algo, no salgas tú a decir, porque fulano me dijo esto. No, tú puedes hacer el mismo complaint, por decirlo así, pero de una forma en la que tú estás razonando y lo estás diciendo por esa persona, pero no vas a decir que esa persona te lo dijo. Así que es crear un ambiente de confianza.
So we need to create an environment where we are all comfortable with each other. Whenever we talk to each other, we should be confident and we should be comfortable. One thing that is said in my country is, I will tell you the miracle, but I won't tell you the saint who created the miracle. So we do need to have confidence and feel comfortable when we're talking amongst each other as a team.
No, and I think you also mentioned another important entity, superintendent.
Absolutamente.
Right?
Yes.
When you have a superintendent, and I want to give credit to, I'm looking at your shirt, Rialto has an amazing superintendent. And when I say amazing, because he's focused on general ed, but he's not turning his back never on the special ed community at his school. Would you like to talk about who he is, Dr. Avila, and just how amazing he is, or he does for the Rialto, at least from my perspective? When you have a superintendent that is also trying to help, it definitely helps. What's your thoughts?
Sí, él es excelente, doctor Ávila. Ahora tenemos un nuevo superintendente interino, es doctor de Sousa, excelente también. Tiene una preparación excelente, doctor de Sousa, y también recibimos un gran apoyo de él para la educación especial. Eso es bien importante. También crear un ambiente de confianza también y una buena relación con los miembros de la mesa directiva, porque al final del día ellos son los jefes del superintendente, pero es importante tener una buena relación con ellos, porque todo lo que se aprueba es aprobado por ellos primero. Nada se puede hacer en el distrito si no lo aprueba la mesa directiva. Entonces ese ambiente es bien importante, y cuando creas ese ambiente de confianza y de una buena relación con ellos, te incluyen, porque los padres tenemos el derecho a ser incluidos hasta cuando vamos a elegir un superintendente, cuando vamos a elegir un nuevo director de educación especial, o cualquiera que vaya a dar un servicio, que sea un jefe, un supervisor, o lo que sea un jefe. Nosotros los padres tenemos también el derecho de participar, ser parte de un panel para saber quién es el que nos va a dar el servicio.
So Dr. Avila is amazing and excellent. Now we have somebody new, Dr. Sousa,
Yes,
and she is also amazing. She's really well prepared, and we need to make sure that we have a great relationship with them and we feel comfortable communicating with them, so that we can have a great communication and be invited to panels and constantly be working together with them.
And
The board of education.
With the board of
It's very
education.
important to have the good relationship with the board of education, because they approve everything to do in the district need to be approved for the board of education.
And I think ultimately, as we talked about earlier, it takes a village. We talked in one of our other episodes, it takes a village to continuously help our kids grow. And what we're seeing is that we're having more and more people being integrated into the village that are actually wanting to be a part, wanting to help grow the village. And we're seeing these kids man, we're seeing these kids do things that we didn't think these kids would be able to do. They're working, they're drawing, they're making, they're having relationships. We have people that are literally in really appropriate and ethical relationships, and it's we're having kids drive more, so it's like.
Yeah, I think that's the common theme that we're hearing, the communication, the collaboration, working together as a team, that mutual respect that all professionals need to have with each other in order to have that success.
Yeah.
Mutual respect for one another.
Crear el ambiente de confianza. Poder separar lo profesional con la amistad, porque a la hora de lo profesional tenemos que tomar en cuenta la ley, y la amistad es por tener una buena, un buen ambiente social.
We need to be comfortable with each other, but we also need to be aware of our professionalism versus a relationship.
No, I think that's very important. Now, any other questions that maybe our audience has for us, or thoughts? Nothing out there from our producers are shaking their head, but me personally, I just want to thank you guys for listening. What we're trying to do in Lock and Loaded is bring up very, conversations that can be uneasy to talk about. But we're going to talk about it because we're locked and we're loaded into this situation, and we're going to bring up professionals like this and parents like we did in the others to be able to help guide the conversation, because the conversation is just about not just from the two professionals, it's a team conversation. And that's why we decided to go live, so that we can hear you too. Have you guys be a part of it live, so we can get live raw pieces into this whole conversation to help our kids. The more we can help our kids, the more we can definitely see our kids continuously blossom like they are. And we've been in this industry for over 20 plus years, and when we first started, I couldn't imagine to see the successes, but it's really the hard sweat of the advocates, the teachers, the parents, the BCBAs in the districts, all the district representatives from top to bottom that takes to make this happen. I want to give you guys a round of applause, guys. Really, a round of applause. Because we're changing the world. This is something that most people didn't think we can make this type of change, but we're doing it as a team. When you bring a team together, you can push further. When you bring one person, maybe they push a little bit, but that's all they got. But a team can push and push and push and push, because we work really well together. And there's nothing that a team can do when you do it positively, ethically, and knowledgeably.
Yo quiero decir algo, padres. Nosotros tenemos el poder. Los derechos absolutos y totales son de nosotros. Nuestros distritos están obligados a escucharnos y que nosotros seamos parte. Recuérdense que nuestros board members, los miembros de la mesa directiva, son elegidos por nosotros. Así que tenemos que tener cuidado cuando vamos a votar, por quién vamos a votar. También nuestro superintendente tenemos el derecho nosotros a ser parte del panel para elegir un nuevo superintendente, un nuevo director de educación especial o cualquier coordinador, alguien que va a dirigir a un grupo. Así que nosotros somos parte de eso. También quiero decirles, padres, que afortunadamente tenemos nuestras agencias de comportamiento B.A.T. Esta es una de ellas, que es la mejor, la número 1. Así que ningún niño, porque tenga comportamiento, tiene que ser excluido de la educación general. Puede participar, tiene los mismos derechos, porque afortunadamente tenemos nuestro BCBA. Así es que no permitan que su hijo sea excluido. Cuando les dicen el ambiente menos restrictivo, quiere decir que tiene que ser incluido. No tiene que ser dejarlo atrás porque tiene comportamientos.
So I wanted to tell the parents that we have the power, and the rights are ours, and we have the power to elect who is part of the board. And so we need to keep that in mind whenever we are voting, or we need to be more involved, so that we can have the power to
Advocate.
to advocate, and then
We have the right to participate, and we have to, we can do we can be the panel, part of the panel when we make a selection, the new superintendent or new special ed director or any coordinator, and also panel. When we talking about the least restricted environment, that's part of the student. He can be, no puede quedarse atrás ese estudiante porque tiene comportamientos. Afortunadamente tenemos nuestro BCBA, nuestra agencia de comportamiento, en este caso B.A.T, que es el número 1.
so the students should not be excluded just because they have certain behaviors. They can participate and they should be included, and this is the reason why we have companies such as ABA with us to support.
The number 1. Don't forget.
I think that's important. We can't just sit back and be upset when things aren't going right. We have to be involved. Right?
Absolutely.
Be involved, vote, things like that. Make sure you know what's going on, and not just.
Yes.
And if you are looking for an advocate and looking for someone to work with, we're gonna be putting Celia's email information up, so you can always give her a call. Like she said, she's been 24 years in doing this, and very successfully, positively, with great deal of energy. I can be honest to say, when I first was in IEPs with Celia, I was a little bit taken back, you know, but I had to learn myself that it all comes from a good place. It all comes from her desire to want to make sure that the kids aren't going to be taken advantage of, that they get the rights that they deserve. Because if they do get those things that they deserve, sky's the limit. You just never know where these kids can go and what they're doing, and that's why we're seeing statistical change in so many different things for our kids. So let's keep doing it together, guys. Lock and loaded. We're going to continuously talk about things so we could continuously try to change, continuously make change in a positive way by conversating. Agreements or whatnot. Where else can you go on the podcast world and talk to a doctor, talk to individuals, professionals that are really making the change? That is awesome in our industry. So I just want you to continuously help us next week. We're going to bring a dad in. Lock and loaded, we're bringing a dad in for Father's Day, because we know that it's hard to be a dad sometimes in this industry. You don't know maybe where your place is, and sometimes now frustration comes in, and now we got a lot of arguing and a lot of this and that. So we're going to make sure that we give dad strategies, and because we know families together, it does help tremendously the child and their evolution. And it's hard. We have looked at Dr. Lee and Lock and Loaded. We look at statistics, and we talk about things that are statistically low in our industry. And we have found that divorce rate is highest with kids with special needs. It's not, and you would think it's infidelity. You would think it's economics. It's none of those things. It's actually having an individual with special needs. Because I don't think we train our dads enough to understand how to navigate through something that can be really hard. When a dad sees behaviors, the first thing they want to do is go put the fire out. However way that they put the fire out. And sometimes putting the fire out like that is making it more fiery. It's almost like putting water, on a what is it? A grease fire. You're thinking you're putting it out, but you're really making it worse because you're not understanding the climate. So that's why Lock and Loaded, we're going to be talking about that with our dad. We're going to bring a special dad in next week. But before we leave today, I want to give Celia an opportunity to say her last words, any words of encouragement. I really love your shirt too.
Oh, thank you.
I have seen some districts being lucky to have you. What are some last words that you would like to say?
Ay, 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 mi último trabajo. Creo que todavía no lo he hecho.
No, es lo más unas últimas palabras
Oh, las
para
últimas
nuestra
palabras.
audiencia.
Ok, la última palabra que quiero decirles es, parents, don't worry if you don't speak English. No matter what language will you speak, we have the right to have interpretation in our language. Okay, don't be afraid. My English not looking good, but
It's great.
pero yo peleo por los derechos de los estudiantes.
But I fight for the rights for my students.
And she's amazing. So we'll
Thank
make
you.
sure that we put her email up. So if you ever want to talk to her, get advice, you can always reach out to her. She's 100% available. And we'll also put up other advocates if it's too far. Like I said, Michelle Torres out there as well. We have member Cecily. There's we have maybe about we have Jorge. He'd be trying to advocate sometimes. So we got a lot of advocates out there, and I think we just want to let you know that they're out there, but we're going to put up Celia's information and continuously do that. Dr. Lee Locke floated. What would you like to say
Yeah, I think,
for today's episode?
Parents, if you're struggling out there, don't feel like you're alone. Reach out for support, reach out to an advocate, reach out to your service provider. We're all here in it together to help you.
That's right. So again, it takes a village, and we're going to continuously put that out here for us. Thank you for watching Lock and Loaded today. Hope you enjoyed today's episode, and I just want to say it's an honor to have Celia here and to be next to her and her amazing advocacy. So kudos to you.
Thank you. El honor es para mí. El honor es mío que me hayan invitado y párense, aquí estoy.
The honor is
Necesitan-
mine. Thank you for inviting me, and parents, I'm here for you if you guys need me.